So the hardest part about learning the game of chess for me is learning what to do in the middle game after the opening has kind of run its course. And so what I've been doing is I've been going through this game, improve your chess pattern recognition that helps you identify key concepts and motifs that will help you improve your middle game theory. And today we're going over the concept of surplace and prise, which is to put your piece in an attacking mode that lets it easily be taken to give yourself an advantage. And more importantly, we're going over the position of knight to g5 here, which you see in a lot of Ruy Lopez and Italian style games. So in our first game here, we're looking at a game between a Grandmaster and a FIDE Master here. And white is to move. It's got this nice strong setup where the bishop is barreling out of the king. You got some knight attacking here. The queen's in a nice attacking position. And black just moved its queen over here on the queen side to start a queen side attack after this long castle. So now that black has moved to this position with the queen, what we're looking for is c5 and attacking with the knight taking here and just attacking on the queen side and opening up all the lines for black to kind of roll its way to the king. And so what can white do to best counteract the attack on the queen side is best to attack on the king side. And white does this exactly with going knight e to g5 here, attacking the king, eyeing this pawn to attack this king. So naturally, what the best thing to do is to go pawn to h6 here, attacking this knight. Now this is the concept of surplace and prise, which is to give up this piece or have it constantly under attack. And so what white does is you think that, oh, he might move his knight away now that this pawn has been activated. But nope, he just goes knight over here to e5, completely ready for him to take here, because after that, the rook takes here, opening up this rook file towards the king. The knight takes here, and the pawn takes with the queen here. So he's completely blown up this whole attacking on the queen side thing, and it's going to be a little too slow for black to really create an attack on its own. One thing to also note is with this pawn over here to e5, it reduces a lot of the attacking chances that black does have. He can't really push here on f3 because of the pawn take here, and things are looking really good for white. So black plays over here on a5, and again, this is an attack is too slow. The reason being, after rook to h3, he's trying to get more pieces in the game to attack this king with a nice little rook lift onto the third file, bishop to a6, and instead of trading off the bishops, the bishop goes straight into the attack, attacking here, throwing the check on the king on h8. The king has to move to h8. Bishop comes back to e4, creating a double attack where the bishop's attacking this rook on a8, and the knight is also throwing a check here on the king on h8, has to move to g8. So the bishop comes here to block that attack, and then the knight comes here, checks on the h8 king anyways. Complete disregard for this knight. And after the knight checks the king here on f7 and the king comes over here to g8, the knight then slides back, goes knight to h6 check, attacking this king once again. And you can't just take the knight over here on h6. The reason being is after that happens, we get a mate in 6 opportunity here where there's no way to stop it and black is checkmated. So a complete destruction with this surplace and prise. A tactical advantage that I think every white player needs to know, especially if they play with the Ruy Lopez or the Italian game, because you want to be able to attack on this king side, and this gives you another attacking idea that you probably disregarded at first glance because of the attack on the knight here on h6. So in our second game here, we have a game between Nigel Short and Murray Chandler. And this game is a game that I really enjoyed studying, and the reason being is because the attack is just so sharp. So we're here after black goes knight to d7 here, really kind of developing his pieces and getting his pieces into the game. And white starts the attack going knight to g5 here, which seems silly because you have 1, 2, and 3 attackers on this knight, and you only have 1 and 2 defenders. So it looks like it's a silly move just right off the bat. Black continues to attack on the queen side, which seems like a very standard move and quite, obvious to start doing. And white then thrusts his queen up here on h5, rendering this completely useless. There's no way that you were going to take this knight at this point, because after taking and opening up this rook line, you have mate just coming right away. Another thing to note in this position is this knight here can't get into the defense of this position because of this nice pawn covering the f6 square here, making black's defensive capabilities really weak. So with all that in mind, what is black to play? They play c takes d4 here. White just takes back with the pawn, queen to b6, bishop to c3, just protecting the pawn structure. Bishop to b4 attacking this bishop. The king pins itself from the bishop here, and with the take on c3, the pawn just takes, and you still have this nice strong pawn chain in the center of the board. White still has this attack coming. It's gonna be really hard for black to stop. Queen comes over here to b2, looking to create some kind of counterplay, and rook to d1 here, just giving up that pawn, wanting to protect this bishop. And after the queen takes here on a2, white, you see this rook lift again, trying to get more pieces into the attack. And after this nice little b6 maneuver, it's just not enough for black to stop the attack, because what white does is goes bishop to h7 check, which is something that you want to do to get this bishop, this king over here on the h8 square, which prepares the knight to f7 check here on the king. The only problem is now that you have this bishop here, you can't just jump right into there. So you're going to have to get that bishop out some way. So after the king comes over here to h8, rook to g3, just bringing that attacker even more into the game. Bishop to a6 check. The king just drops over here. And you just saw the elo bar shoot up because white has such a strong attack here over here on the king side, and it seems like black is completely disregarding it. Queen to e2 attacking this rook, and that is when white thrusts up to f7 here, completely disregarding the safety of this rook and this bishop, and he is completely winning. So after the rook takes here, the queen takes the rook, the king hides back over here on h2, and the g5 move here, stopping the rook and the queen from connecting over here on g7, but even then it's not enough because the bishop's going to drop back, and now we're looking at checkmate over here on h7. So the knight comes over here to f8, looking to obviously stop that, but it doesn't matter because you have the check here, and with the king move on g8, you throw the bishop here. King has to come back. You then take the pawn, completely shredding the queen side. The queen has to come over here for the defense and have the bishop kind of go out of position. After the bishop takes on h5, you get h takes g5, and now this king is completely stranded here. You're looking at mate right here. Knight takes g6, and you have mate into from there on out. That's one thing to look at in this Prise and Prise kind of position, is getting that king out here to h5, and this position only really works when you have that light squared bishop also pointing at the king side. If you don't have that light square bishop on a diagonal pointing at the king, I would not even attempt to try this because you're just not going to have enough pieces to really attempt this attack. So in our final example here, we have a game between Judith Polgor and her opponent, and we're looking at black just going to b6 here, and knight goes from e to g5, going into the position of Prise and Prise. Black obviously goes h6, trying to kick the knight away. And so what white does is they go bishop to h7 check, a common thing that we see all the time. And she brings it back over here to e5, attacking this rook and preventing this bishop from activating itself into the game. And here, h takes g5, sacrificing this rook over here with the bishop, thinking that there's not really much of an attack here. And the reason you don't want to take bishop takes a here is because after bishop to g4, this knight is going to be very displaced. You can't put it here. You don't want to put it here and trade off because you're going to get a trade of the queens here. And your attack is just basically going to fizzle. So what Judah does is then after this g5 move here, instead of taking this rook, she goes g5 herself. A complete surprise probably to her own opponent, because after rook to b8 and saving the rook from certain death, she goes h4, which is all but, you know, asserting that this h file is going to open and this attack is still very much alive. After g to 6, the h file is open, the king retreats, and the queen tries to get in the game here, looking to come back over here on h2. Bishop to b7 attacking this, and this just loses right away because the rook sacks, king comes, the queen gets in position. After the king hides away, you bring the rook over, and there's really no way that you can really stop this attack because you get the bishop to g5 check, the knight just takes, the queen takes, you attack the queen, and the queen has to really take because it can't really come back here because of the checkmate threat right here. And after the bishop takes here, the queen just takes the bishop. Black resigns from here, knowing full well that they are easily losing this game. So there is my favorite so far of the middle game strategies of Prise and Prise, which is this potentially sacrifice that knight to open up the lines and to attack the king. I hope that is something that you can implement into your middle game strategy. And if you like that video, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Our next middle game strategy video will be called the Not So Innocent Bystander. So that video will be here, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.